final check. I get you.
Now, in the words of Andrew Jackson, who is the seventh president of the United States of America, he once said, all the rights secured to the citizens under the Constitution are worth nothing and a mere bubble, except guaranteed to them by an independent and virtuous judiciary. All right. Let's see how that quote relates to what we'll be discussing today. Very warm greetings and welcome to Athena Voices. We're reaching you live from Athena Center for Policy and Leadership, and it is brought to you by Clear Path Media. My name is Annabelle Ojin. Now, since Nigeria's independence, the judiciary has been regarded as the last hope of the common man. But over the decades, questions have emerged about its independence, integrity, and effectiveness, especially during elections and high-profile cases. Today, we put the judiciary under the spotlight with a legal mind who knows the law and lives it, from separation of powers to the treatment of young lawyers. This conversation promises to be insightful, to have truth, and perhaps justice. My guest on the show today is Barrister Kelechi Anwu. He is a legal practitioner. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. All right, now, first things first, let's begin from the beginning. Exactly. How would you say that Nigeria's judiciary has evolved since the independence till date?
Like every system in the world, it's a progress. It's a work in progress. Okay. But we've not actually fared badly, even though we would not take out some pocket of shortcomings, or we would not say the judiciary has fared badly. So, a society without law, a society without order, a society without justice, it's up to anarchy. And it will be brutish, it will be disastrous for citizens.
Okay, so now with regards to, I hear you say that it's work in progress, just the same way we always hear that democracy is also work in progress. We still have a lot to do from our part. But then in terms of integrity, in terms of independence, in terms of separation of powers, how would you say that we have either fared? Are we progressing or we are retrogressing?
Yes, over the years you could see we've had places where the judiciary has been spot on. We will not be judging the judiciary with few things or few mistakes that have characterized things over time. But then there are times where you will see that the judiciary was up and doing. You could see litany of cases that have graced our courts. You could see the quality of lawyers that we've produced. You could see the kind of practice that we do in Nigeria. Today, Nigeria Bar Association, the Nigerian lawyers happen to be the biggest bar in the entire Africa. It's not every other bar in Africa emulates Nigeria. Sometimes you get to see our judges being assigned to ECOWAS court and other African courts. So it's not because we are not doing anything. It's because we are making progress, and with that progression comes with we should be commended at least. Judiciary has, in a way, assisted Nigeria in keeping check some ill behaviors.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So if we return back to all that has happened, all that is even happening at the moment, if you go back to Senate plenary, if you go back to some cases with regards to the executive, would you actually really say back again that the judiciary has done well? Because most people will tell you that the judiciary or the judges, most of these judges, especially those who are under the state's arm, they will tell you that they are under they have to always go with whatever the piper plays. That's the governor. So they're like tied to the apron strings of whatever the governor says or what he wants them to do because he has to pay their bills and all of that. So how would you refer or how would you react to such accusations?
It would not entirely be like that, because if you understand the organogram of Nigerians structure, governmental structure, the organogram is structured in a way that we have three tiers of government. We have the judiciary, we have the legislative, and we have the executive.
Right.
Now, each of them are about our elementary understanding in both social studies and government in secondary school. Well, let's not even take it far. We could understand that these organs serves as checks and balances on each other. It's not in all cases that you get to see that the judiciary is faltering. Now, there are places that, just like I said before, there are instances where the judiciary has been spot on. Now you have litany of cases. You've had people who have the days of Nikki Toby, we have the days of Oputa. Back in the days, you could hear of Oputa panel. Right. Everybody knew about the Oputa panel. Right. We have had days of days where we even had the Ogoni people, and we have had issues where people cases are resolved and they are happy. So we cannot judge the judiciary based on these past few years. It has been a troubling time for the judiciary, but like I said, it's a work in progress, and every system is bound to have some pockets of mistake. But with time, those things are going to be corrected, and it's being corrected as it were. Now, you would say because these governments are tied, do not also forget that they operate individually, and each of the arms are distinct and separate from each other. The judiciary is separate from the executive. The legislature is also separate from the judiciary. Each of them are a voice on its own. Each of them are a check on each other. You cannot, one is not above the other and the other is not above the other. Forget that we might be seeing a kind of marriage between the other. Of course, there should be a synergy between the three arms of government. But still,
did you just call it a synergy, especially when you see cases like the political cases, the election cases, and the next thing you hear is go to court, and then you go to court, and then did you see what or did you hear what people like the PDP governorship candidate in Edo State said about the judiciary? Did you hear what all of that said about the judiciary?
Regrettably, that is the tone of things today. But let's not also forget we have in our electoral jurisprudence, we have seen plethora of cases that were meritoriously judged. Should I begin to count? The case of Peter Obi in 2006. Peter Obi had 3 cases, went to Court of Appeals, Supreme Court, and even to all the courts in 2006, 2007, and 2008. He came back meritorious. Oshomole was brought back as a governor. Chibuike Amechi, those are electoral jurisprudence. People who were ordinarily without the judiciary, they wouldn't have ever been governor. We could see the cases of persons that were returned to power. So let's not be quick to judge the judiciary.
But nobody is judging the judiciary. We're just saying the things that we've seen. Like, okay, you've mentioned the good cases. How about let's return back to Imo State? What happened in the Imo State governorship election that brought forth Governor Hope Uzodinma? What would you say in that regard? And then some other ones again.
Like I said, the Supreme Court is the final court. And by their understanding, it is not that it's like Oputa would say, it is not that they are infallible, but they are final. It is not that the Supreme Court is infallible, but they are the final court. So we will go by regardless. It is not that they are infallible. Of course, they are human beings. They are not saints, but they are human beings. But the thing is, going forward, making progress, we would have to look at our jurisprudence, organize much more better, come up with much more quality and incisive decision in the near future. Because I must say, it is also tiring. It is also tiring for us as lawyers, because if I go to court today, the kind of confidence that is reposed on me by my client It's not the kind that we see beforehand. Before now, a client will have full confidence in you that once I go to court, I am coming out happy. But these days, it's looking like it is we lawyers who are making things difficult for. But we need.
Also, you agree that it is your colleague that is making.
We also need to understand that my colleagues are human beings, and just like I said, the judiciary is on a path of progress. It's a work in progress, and we will continue. The only thing we can do is to make it better. We'll continue to push that it becomes better, not just relying on the mistakes that we've made, but also fostering on the progresses that have been made, the breakthroughs that have been made. And then that way, we will espouse our judiciary in all angles, espouse our jurisprudence in all angles. Judiciary becomes better, and Nigerians are happy.
All right. Let's get your understanding of what separation of power actually mean in practical terms, not what you find in not the theory or what you find only in the Constitution. What exactly does separation of power mean? Because I remember you talked about the marriage that happens between the three arms of government. Explain to us what separation of power means to the judiciary.
Now, separation of power. Well, you cannot talk about separation of power without talking about the Constitution, because the Constitution is the grand norm. It is the linchpin upon which every single institution derives its power. Without the Constitution, every institution works in vain. There is no institution without the Constitution. So it is the Constitution that has stipulated which power goes to who does what, and what are you doing. Now, by our Constitution, the judiciary is supposed to interpret the law, and they also serve as policy makers, just like our Supreme Court today is also a policy court. Now, the legislative is there to formulate laws and policies. Now, it is for them to enact good laws and policies. The executive is there to implement, to make sure those things, the day-to-day running of those things, the operational fluency of all these policies and laws that are made will be aided by the executive. So, but that notwithstanding, each of them are distinct and separate from each other. Forget that we look at it and then we see, okay, these days we see friends who are in either sides of the divide and they act as if it is the same. It is not. From the inception of our Constitution, from the provisions of our Constitution, each of them are distinct. Each of them are like brothers who are far apart. As much as they are siblings, but each of them have their own saying. Each of them have whatever duty that is assigned to them. They must discharge those duties without fear or influence from the other side of the divide. Now, while the judiciary will interpret the law, they must always interpret those laws according to, it is human being they are interpreting to. Laws are not made in vacuum. They are made for people. So you interpret according to people and according to public opinion and policy. So when you see laws that are obnoxious, when you see laws that are not for the people, laws that do not cover the interests of the people, there are instances where the judiciary have struck down laws that are not in tandem. Exactly. Laws that are anti-people. The judiciary has always stood by such interpretation. Now, we cannot say, because in the recent times we've had some judgments that we might not entirely be comfortable with, we'll write off the entire judiciary. Take away the judiciary, or take away the executive, or take away the legislatures, who operate in anarchy, where, in the words of Thomas Hobbes, it will be very brutish. Human beings are brutish.
Okay, so because you mentioned the judiciary, the executive, and then the legislators, now, would you actually say that, in all fairness, has the judiciary been or truly operated independently of the executive arm since independence till date, in all fairness? Barrister?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes,
Examples.
yes.
Yeah.
In the instances that we've had a very wonderful judiciary in the past couple of years. Nigerian judiciary has been attuned to be one of the best. I can begin to reel out names of wonderful judges, justices that we have had in this country, justices who have struck their neck to delivering quality justice. Now we've seen judges. Now it is not that we have not had bad eggs in the judiciary. Now all these things started when politicians started appointing their fellow compatriots as leaders of judiciary. Before now, before you are sent to any position in judiciary, either by becoming even a magistrate, you must be someone of quality. Your practice as a lawyer must have been showing. People must testify that this person is worthy in character and in learning. This person has paid his dues. Not that you've paid money, but you've paid your dues in terms of practice and practicality, not by any other means. Now, but in recent times, we get to see wives and husbands and cronies of politicians being appointed to judiciary. The next thing everybody begins to look at, we now have lawyers who tangle to people in power just to get appointed. Everybody is now seeing the judiciary position as a poverty alleviation thing.
Oh, wow.
Before you get to be a judge, so many persons did not actually want to be a judge. I grew up seeing lawyers who will tell you, I do not want to be a judge because that seat is hot. It requires dedication. It requires, before now, it requires utmost simplicity. It requires you being very clean and to be seen clean. Like our judges will say, justice need not only be done, but manifestly seen as done. You don't need to just do justice and say it is justice. People need to see that it is just and equitable. Now, just like I said, before you are appointed, that scrutiny must be there in the public image. Your public image, your understanding of law, your perception, even your dedication to the cause of justice must be ascertainable. But today we see people who only simply because the constitution pegs it at, once you're 10 years post-call, you become appointed as a judge of a high court or any. Now, people would immediately wait without even practice, without a day of practice. Now, it is becoming very annoying. Let me give you a short story. In my class, we were 234 that graduated.
Okay.
When we started practice,
as young lawyers at the time,
as at the time, when we started practice, we were moving, and along the line, people started dropping. But as of today, those that are still in practice, litigation, I mean, because for you to appoint a judge, you must appoint that person from litigation.
Okay.
People with practical knowledge. Now, not entirely that you must appoint that, but it is always reasonable that you appoint people who have that litigation, that courtroom practice. Now, as of today, out of 234 young lawyers that were called to bar, as of today, many years later, some years later, we're not up to, let's say, 30 that are in practice.
Really?
So now you begin to see maybe the remaining 204. Don't be surprised. Someday will appoint any of them. Yes, of course they are qualified by reasons of that they are 10 years post-call. But in terms of practical knowledge, practical experience, practical exposure, have you been there? Have you been able to garner such knowledge that you can be able to sit and adjudicate matters? So we need to look at the recruitment of our judicial officers.
Okay.
It must be, we need to take it back to when it used to be those who have paid the price of knowledge.
So what exactly is supposed to be the recruitment process, especially now that you talked about the fact that politicians just have decided to bastardize, some politicians have decided to bastardize the process. What is supposed to be the right process of recruiting judges?
In my opinion, of course, everybody who is 10 years post-call is allowed to apply. In my opinion, persons should be allowed to apply. The recruitment should be made public so that lawyers, like now in this office now, in your office, you know who is who. You know who comes early. You know who is very punctual. You know who leaves before time and who stays very late. You know who is very diligent. The same way it is in the legal profession. Now, we know lawyers that are worth it. We know lawyers that are, okay, if he ascends to this place, it is an added advantage. It's an added feather to the judiciary. But when you appoint someone who I know this person cannot and might not have been able to move emotion, and he might not have been in proper practice of law. He might not have done any reasonable case. Maybe he has been jumping from one.
What does reasonable case mean?
Reasonable case is that you start a case from start to finish. You lead evidence. You have gone through the routines of your adoptions and everything. You conclude your cases. You write your brief on your own. Okay. It's not just about saying I am a lawyer, I am called to bar, and I am 10 years post-call. You must have been in practice. You must have written your briefs by yourself. You must know how to write those briefs. You must know the law. It's not an assumption. Because there is a general notion that the judge knows the law. The lawyer might not know, but the judge is assumed to know the law. So you cannot, it's unreasonable for you to appoint anybody who is not worthy of that seat.
Okay, Barrister Kile, it looks like you need to school some of us that, especially the layman who doesn't understand the difference between the lawyer and the judge. Because I hear you say that the lawyer might not know the case, but the judge must know the case. Help us demystify that.
Now, as a judge, once you are appointed, if you are appointed, it is presumably that you should work harder than even lawyers that are coming before you, because you are the arbiter, you are the umpire. You must be qualified. In fact, you should be able to know things that are coming before you.
Okay, so my question is, who is the judge and who is the lawyer?
A judge is someone who has been appointed from the lawyer. For you to be a judge, you must be a lawyer and must have practiced for over 10 years. Now, if you are appointed from that law as a lawyer, what I'm saying is that appointment must need to be someone who has been practicing, a lawyer who has been practicing, not just as a lawyer, and not just because you're 10 years. I am now 10 years, so I'm qualified. It must be someone who have the knowledge, the requisite knowledge to sit as an umpire, because you're sitting above your mates. It's the kind that you understand the field. You understand, because cases will come from various angles. It will come from matrimonial, it will come from land, it could come from property, it could come from commercial.
From elections.
So if you're not abreast with all these things, let's say in your life you've not been in practice. You've been in the office, sitting down on chair and be rolling them. Maybe you've been a board chairman all your life. But because you're a lawyer, you feel you are qualified, your 10 years post-call, you want to be a judge. Or because maybe you've been doing buying and selling somewhere else, or doing family business, or doing any other thing, and you've not been practically engrossed in practice of law, general practice of law. And then when there is an opening for judge, maybe you know Mr. A who is at the ends of affair, and then you quickly rush to him. He appoints you. Now, a bad judge, it's a calamity to the society. A bad judge that is appointed is a calamity to the society and to the law practice. So, in my opinion, judges should be appointed based on qualification, cases that you've handled, not because you've been appearing in court, not because you are 10 years post-call, not because you are with one law firm or the other, but because you have appeared in court. The court knows you. Of course, if you come to court every day, the court knows you. It knows that this person is qualified. It knows that this person And the colleagues also know you. We know lawyers that are doing well. We know lawyers that are not just because you wear fine clothes or you drive fine car, but we know lawyers that are, even in the university, we knew students who are bright. And as lawyers, we know lawyers that there are lawyers that the moment they bring their brief, you read it, you go to bed. You go and sleep. Because there is no point. The things that are written there are elementary and quite basic. Now, but there are lawyers that when they bring their brief, even if it is 3 pages, you will be awake all night trying to grasp whatever it is, because they will take you to the cleaners. You will struggle to come up.
So do they still write their brief by themselves?
Of course, they write their briefs.
So they still handwritten.
Of course.
Because I heard some of them at the time.
You type your brief and you print and send to the next person, or you email to the next person. But you must read whatever they've written, the content of their writing. By the content of their writing, you will get to know. So this one is very bright. Yes, this one is a quality lawyer. You get. Even if it wasn't written by you, because sometimes you get to find people to write your brief, but you don't just submit. There are lawyers that even if another person writes for them, they don't submit whatever you have worked with principals who, even when they ask you to write brief, the moment you submit it, by the time he sends you back half of your brief, he sent you your brief is like half gone. He has changed like half because he understands that, okay, I need to make this adjustment. He will tell you this can't go, this can't go.
All right, because I remember I was talking to a particular judge and they said one of the challenges that most legal practitioners or lawyers or judges always have is the fact that they always have to spend all night writing, and it's always handwritten. So it was going to be better if they evolve and go straight to digital instead of the analog way.
The world has gone digital. If you wish to stay analog, you will stay analog. Now, in courts, there are courts that have stenography. There are lawyers that have. In fact, for me, I've always said it, and I write it most times, that you cannot be a good lawyer without a laptop or a mobile phone.
How about those the older generation?
If you like the older generation, we have gotten to an era where knowledge of computer and use of computer should be part of legal practice. Yeah. You cannot function effectively to come and be writing notes. No, it's not longer obtainable. You must need to type. Of course, you can't submit to court what you hand wrote. You must type them. So every lawyer is supposed to have a basic knowledge of IT. At least you can type your processes. Now, gone are the days when lawyers should go to cyber cafe and then litter the cyber cafe with their processes. And then at the end of the day, we get to see quack lawyers copying what lawyers have dumped in cyber cafe. Every lawyer is supposed to have his laptop. How much is a laptop? That a lawyer can spend the whole year. He cannot afford a laptop or a mobile phone. No, it's not obtainable.
All right. Because you mentioned quack lawyers, we'll talk about quack lawyers later. But then let's move straight to election matters. How exactly would you assess the role of the Nigeria's judiciary, especially during elections, from the recent election to previous elections, even looking down or looking up to the 2023 general elections on a scale of 1 to 10, Barrister Kili, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest? How would you assess all that happened during the 2023 elections and other by-elections or all-cycle elections that we've had in the country?
Now, since 2010 till now, let's say 2015, our electoral jurisprudence had a nosedive.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's coming from you?
Yes.
The lawyer, okay.
Our electoral jurisprudence, we've had issues where we have judgments from the same subject matter, but various judgments. Law is just one thing. The law is very strict. So you cannot tell me that you did the same thing, I did the same thing, and then the next table is bringing up a different opinion on issues of law, not issues of what they think. And the other next table is bringing up a different opinion. We have had some judgments that are
conflicting.
We have had conflicting judgments in the recent years of the same issues in election. And these issues are clearly defined in our electoral laws. It means it's either one person is going overboard or one person is underputting it. So I wouldn't say, but it would be nice that we'll go back to the drawing board. We've had, like I said, I mentioned earlier cases that were decided in the early 2000s and even in the 90s. They were much more espoused. We had days. It will be very, very difficult now to obtain an election because they will give you either one reason or another. But before now, let's say 2006, 2007, to 2015, we had the jurisprudence, electoral jurisprudence were well tested. We have P2B and INEC, Amechi and INEC, Oshomele and INEC. These are persons who would not ordinarily have smelled judicial positions. Now, you look at cases where there are cases concerning defection of legislators. But today we see the legislator defecting. There are plethora of cases that once a legislator defects.
You have judiciaries, or did you just say legislators who defect?
Yes, defect from political parties. There are cases that have been decided on. And I said, for instance, there are cases that had been previously decided on legislators who defect. That if you defect outside the windows of your party being in turmoil, you lose your seat. But today we see legislators defect at random.
But then they'll come back to tell you that it's guaranteed in the Constitution. They have freedom of association.
The freedom of association, the court has also decided that it must be that your freedom of association, you must be able to leave if you leave a political party that sponsors you to a certain position, you must also leave the benefit.
Oh.
Yes.
So if you got elected as a
party
governor,
yes, not governors, we are dealing with legislators.
Okay.
The Constitution provides that once you decamp a political party
and move and then
to a next political party as a legislator, you must forfeit the seat
and go start afresh. Is that what it means?
Exactly. You must forfeit the seat. But these days we see politicians defecting here and there, and when you get to the root, and cases like this are no longer decided as they were previously decided. So what we are saying, what we are agitating as lawyers, is that we should be able to have, our judges should be able to come up and save Nigeria. Yes.
Come up and save Nigeria.
Yes.
I remember you actually talked about this conflicting judgment, and I recall that even in previous administration of the Supreme Court judges, I've seen cases where some of these judges were penalized, some of them were called to order, but you still see this conflicting judgment happening. So why exactly do you have those kind of issues where someone comes from, let's say for instance, it comes from Enugu, has a particular case, and then that same, is there no way you're supposed to have, I'm trying to find the right word. Is there no way you're supposed to have how we understand, how we know what happened where that case, the court where that case is coming from, before you take it to another court?
Of course.
Than you having all those conflicting judgments. How exactly?
I like what the present CJN is doing, because in the past couple of months we've seen judges being sanctioned. We've seen judges will have to sit up. Well, however, it is not easy to be on that seat. I must say, it's not a small seat that once you go in, it's a jamboree. It's a call to service. It's a call to duty. Like most judges hardly sleep. The kind of workload that are for judges is not something that a weakling should even aspire to be on that seat. So if you are on that seat, you must be ready to work. So I appreciate the present CJN is making effort to sanitize the judiciary. in the past couple of months, we've seen judges be reprimanded and some being asked to automatically resign, or some are being sent out. That will be nice. It will cleanse the system. And I also encourage that in the appointment of judges, we should now look at the merits, the people who are worthy. Not just because I want to be a judge. It's not a position that you dream to be. It's a position that you are called to be.
So it's a calling.
It's a calling. Anybody can be a lawyer, but it's not everybody that can be a judge. You must have that. You must have it upstairs. You must be worthy of it, because you're going to decide on people's fate. People's life will be in your hand.
Right.
So you must be ready and qualified for it. So for me, the appointment should be public, that people have to say, okay, this is not this, this person is not this. And then if it becomes public, people will not, if you are not qualified, you will not want to go and embarrass yourself.
So let's return back to I'm trying to find out exactly how do people get you find them, even businessmen, you find politicians, someone who, some of the bourgeoisies or the elite who just have an issue with probably a friend or a business partner, and then they go get ex parte order to just to punish someone or to punish a particular offender or an enemy. What is the process of actually getting an ex parte order?
Forget that ex parte order. It's one of the things provided for our rule. But people, everything in Nigeria is open to abuse, including this TV station. If you allow it, people will abuse it. Now we have gotten to a point where we see our colleagues move here and there, window shopping for orders that they should never have been. Well, I like that in the past couple of months, we've seen the amount of ex parte order come down. The courts now are very restrained to granting you ex parte order. It's no longer come and get. The courts have now understood that lawyers are becoming very mischievous. And aside that, judges will decide. It is what the lawyers bring to their table that they will decide upon. So some of our colleagues are very mischievous. They window shop. They run from one court to another looking for easier route. Now, that easier route is what the court is not inclined to do. These days, you hardly see, at least in the last 5 months.
Yeah, 5 months.
In the last 5 months.
Okay.
There has been
5 months looks short though.
There has been a soft pedal on ex parte order because some judges got into trouble because they granted ex parte order. So even lawyers are now mindful not to file even when clients push you. But sometimes it is clients who push this thing. Do it. But as a lawyer, you should know your onions. You should be able to say, oh, I can't do this. It is against my professional conduct. It is something I cannot do. So no matter how client push you, you should be able to have a restraint.
Restraint. I hear you also say that some lawyers, they've actually overdone it. In fact, they're mischievous, in your words. But how about the judiciary? I hear some people say, refer to the judiciary. Some say, or the judges, that they have been politicized. Do you agree with that perception? And if yes, how can it be
possible in Nigeria? We're in a country where we do not actually respect the rule of law. The rule of law is that equality before the law. Every man is equal before the law. Now, we get to see politicians who want what they want, not minding whose ox is grinding. Now, we get to see politicians throwing money and here and there, wanting people to do things at their whims and caprice. And we get to see even judges and lawyers being blackmailed by these same politicians to do one or two things. But then it's about principle. We need to recalibrate that principle line. We need to understand that this profession, the legal profession, it's a profession of repute. If you have no reputation, there is no point being a lawyer. Just like if you don't have a reputation as a doctor or as a priest, it's like priesthood. It's like the medical profession. Without reputation, how do you go to your doctor and say, oh, I have malaria, and you have that confidence that he will not give you stomach meds? Exactly. The same way, we should have that reputation built around the legal profession and judiciary. Now, when you complain about the judiciary, please do not complain only about the judiciary. Please push it across the legal profession. Some legal practitioners are judicial members, but not all. Not every lawyer is a judicial member.
Not every lawyer
is a judicial member. Some judiciaries are appointed from the legal profession, and we have people who work in the judiciary who are not even lawyers, like the clerk of court, the messengers. These a lot of things go on.
And then we all outside, we see all of them as lawyers.
Sometimes a lot of these things are also done by people who are not even lawyers. So it cuts across both ends. So when you blame the judiciary, also blame the legal profession. And I think the legal profession will need to stamp their feet now. I like that in this past couple of months, the present NBA inaugurated disciplinary committee in all the geopolitical zone. Before now, we used to have just one disciplinary committee that runs in Abuja here, that oversees the entire federation. But now, everybody will have to be a watchdog against the other. If you do anything, I will report you, because you're also putting my profession. If I, as a person, commit, I am anxious and I have this anxiety that my colleague might report my actions if it runs contrary to the stipulations. So we must be able to recalibrate that society where we will have reputation of lawyers matter, because it is from the lawyers angle, from the legal practitioner, the bar, that you get people who sit at the bench. So if the bar is corrupt,
the bench will definitely be corrupt.
Of course.
Okay, I hear you loud and clear. All right. Because you've actually been stating the past few months, I was actually going to ask you what exactly is that change that happened in the past few months, but you've mentioned it, that it is the NBA president that you have that.
Yes, in this past few months, we'll have, let's start from the judiciary, the bench. In this past few months, the CJN released the list of judges that were sacked. Some judges were sacked. Some were given suspension up to 3 years, 2 years, and 1 year. Now, down to the bar, in this past few months, the NBA president set up disciplinary committees chaired by senior lawyers across board in different geopolitical zones of the country. So at this present moment, you will not say, okay, Abuja is not watching me, because somebody within your zone is now seeing you. So if anything comes up, people within your zone will prosecute you. So if we have that society where people are mindful, people are cautious, people watch what they do, because everybody is not a watchdog. Every lawyer is a watchdog for the fellow lawyer.
All right.
Because if you soil your name, I am soiled. If anybody says lawyers are corrupt, it means I am also will be pointed without a filthy hand. So I must be able to, while you guard your own, I must be able to guard for both of us. Guard the reputation of both of us.
Just like you have in the military.
Of course.
Okay, so you talked about rule of law, and then you talked about equality, where you stated that everyone is equal, be it man, be it woman. They're all equal before the eyes of the law.
Yes.
But then that's the law. When you come to social norm, in social norm, it says, let's go to the eastern part of the country. Social norm looks at culture. It looks at the fact that the woman should not talk when the men are talking. It looks at the fact that the woman should sit when the men are making decisions in the family. So how do you create a balance in this regard, the law and the social norm?
Now, in the balance, it is the law that overrides every other norm. The norm might be there. Every norm will have to be in tandem with the law, because your norms are not codified. The norms that you have might not be the norms that I have. So it is not subjective. It is not objective. It is very subjective. Your norms are very subjective. So the only objectivity is laws that are made, laws that are enshrined by, because the body of laws are the guiding principle.
So how does that woman who is in Anambra State, who has just lost her husband, who they want to take away her property, how would she take this law to her people, her traditional chiefs, and tell her uncles, her in-laws, and tell them that this is what the law says, that we are equal?
Now,
what
we call as normal, what we call as communal practices are way outlawed. We've gone beyond this stage where you say a woman cannot own properties, a woman cannot must shave her head.
It still happens.
It happens because you must be able to bring these things to the authorities. If you bring these things to the authorities, we have plethora of cases where the court have decided on such issues. We have Mojeku and Mojeku, we have many of them where cultural practices are outlawed because they are inconsistent with what the law says. If your custom or your norms are inconsistent, it must be able to pass the test of consistency. Is this consistent with the current law in practice? If it is not, it is of no use. It is illegal. So if it does not pass that consistency test, it goes to no issue. You know, people do a lot of things under impunity. Most persons, because it is not checked, because nobody has called you to order, does not mean what you're doing is right. So if your actions are not legally backed, if they are morally backed, what is your moral is not what is my moral. Morality varies from community to community. So, but the law is very static. The law is steady for everybody. The law is the platform upon which we leverage on.
So when you get to those villages or those communities that says that the woman or the wife should not talk, instead her son is even if her son is 5-year-old, they would appreciate his voice better than the woman. She should just tell them that no, this is not what the law says.
Funny enough, these communities praise on fear. They cannot do it to a rich woman. You cannot see somebody like Alaki Jana.
What does it do?
You cannot see somebody like you cannot see somebody like Alaki Jana, who is probably the most richest woman in Africa, and tell her she will not talk. Men will not talk when she is talking. So most communities pray.
Are you saying that those other persons that are not able to talk, that
what they are doing, what the community is doing is they are preying on the fears of this woman, but that does not make it right. It is illegal and wrong. So it must be condemned, and it is condemnable. So what I'm saying is they prey on people who they can prey on. The communities prey on people who they can prey on, but when they see that you stand your ground, when they see that you have maybe they see this one is learned, or this one is a lawyer, or this one is a doctor, or this one is a journalist, and she knows what she's doing, they will not dare do those things.
So in summary, you're asking that everyone should educate themselves.
Of course.
On the side of the law.
Of course. And everyone should, not just educating yourself. When you educate yourself, also have friends that you can be able to communicate issues like this. Do not sit down, they ask you not to talk, and you say, I'm not talking. You should be able to get to friends who are in far places and then ask them, is this what it should be? You should be able to get people that are learned, people that are bigger than you, and ask them, is this what is obtainable? Because a community leader who have not brushed his or her mouth ask you not to talk because you're a woman, you will shut up. No, it is not. You are a human being. You have a voice. You have something to say. There is no culture that should. There is the Constitution. The Constitution takes freedom of expression. There is no other law. Not to talk of an ordinary norm. There is no other law that is bigger than the Constitution. The Constitution is the alter ego.
All right. Judge, let me ask a question with regards to where you just landed, taking a cue from where you landed with regards to the Constitution being the ground norm. Now, we've seen arguments stating that there is the Constitution and then there is the Islamic law, or the Sharia law. In some parts of the country, especially in the northern part of the country, they tell you that you're not supposed to move liquor, you're not supposed to move XYZ because it is a Sharia state. And if such things happen, they'll tell you that the person is going to be either arrested by the Hezbollah or is going to be judged by the Sharia laws. Actually have. I've seen this argument, I need you to demystify. Do we actually have the Constitution and the Sharia law, or is there one that is superior over every other one?
There is no law, living or dead, that is bigger than the Nigerian Constitution.
Even the Sharia law.
There is no law, living or dead, that is bigger than the Constitution. The only place these other laws can apply, the Constitution is not an all-encompassing law. It does not cover every single thing, but it covers the most important thing. Now, the only place these other laws can operate, any other law can operate, is where the Constitution has not made any specific provision. Like, Constitution has not said you should go and drink. It is not written anywhere. The Constitution has not said you should go and sell alcohol. It is not written anywhere in the Constitution. So, but anything, the Constitution provides for various rays of things. But wherever the Constitution did not cover, these other laws or norms will fall in. Assuming
so
there is...
That's what the other laws now...
Exactly. That is what...
On.
Exactly. But anything that is... anything, even section 1 to 3 of the Constitution says, any law inconsistent with the Constitution, any law made anywhere in Nigeria that is inconsistent with the Constitution is null and void. So whatever body of laws or norms or whatever name you feel like you want to call it, you cannot place that your law on top of nothing and expect it to stand. So it must drive its water. It must drive its enforceability. It must drive its life from the Constitution. It is only where the Constitution, you cannot go against things that have already been specifically provided for in the Constitution. It is only where those things are not in the Constitution that you can say, okay, we make up for this. But if it is covered in the Constitution, you must abide by the dictates of the Constitution.
Right.
Nothing more, nothing less.
But we are actually due for a break. But before we go on that break and then begin to round off, I'm going to ask you, what exactly is the official, or what is exactly is the duty of the NJC, and how have they been operating? Have they actually been proactive or reactive when it comes to judicial reforms?
Yes, NJC has been there from its inception, from its creation. It has been there. NJC oversees the appointment and discipline of judicial officers.
Okay.
So judicial officers, they are the ones who appoint. They are the Oga Patapata of all judicial officers.
So is it distinct from the NBA?
NBA is a body of the bar.
Okay.
And lawyers, male lawyers, they are not judicial officers. So but the NJC recommends who should pick from the bar and make him a judicial officer.
Okay.
It is the NBA, the NJC that does that. Now, NJC also have the right to say, who have picked, you are no longer doing what is right and correct. They have that right to sack you as a judicial officer. Then we return you back to where you're coming from.
How about the body of benchers?
The body of benchers is another organ that is saddled with the responsibility of calling lawyers, qualifying lawyers, making sure, okay, these lawyers are qualified, and they also have the right to discipline lawyers.
But I hear that the body of benchers is more like an elite club. How true is that? Before you become a life bencher, you must have attained some heights, some grounds before you become one.
Of course, you must be qualified either in practice, in age, or in experience.
Does it have anything to do with the finance also?
There are poor members of the life benchers. There are people who do not have money in the life benchers. It's not everybody that is in the life benchers that is wealthy, and they are not all wealthy. There are persons who were appointed as life benchers by reasons of either their offices or by reasons of their contribution, their expertise, their experience.
Okay.
So it is not in all cases that you get to see life benchers that are wealthy.
All right.
So it's a very crazy assumption for anybody to say every bencher is wealthy. It is not.
It's on a quick break, and when we return, we'll come to round round of this segment of the show. See you later.
Introducing Athena's suite of publications by the Athena Center for Policy and Leadership, a not-for-profit, non-partisan think tank operating at the junction of theory and practice. Athena Notes brings you timely from top academics and journalists. Athena Perspectives keeps you connected with the latest trends and developments in Nigeria and the West African sub-region. Policy Pulse delivers monthly analysis of policy trends with Athena Governance Insights. Dive deep into national challenges and policy solutions through data-driven research. Athena Third Tiers spotlights local governance at the grassroots level and offering solutions to improve outcomes at the grassroots level. Subscribe to Athena Center for Policy and Leadership today.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is Athena Voices. We're reaching you live from Athena Center for Policy and Leadership, and it is brought to you by Clear Path Media. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on a whole lot, but then you can still join in this part of the show, as my guest is Barrister Kelechi, who is a legal practitioner, and we have been spotlighting the Nigeria's judiciary. All right, before we went on that break, we were actually talking about the life benchers, the difference between the body of benchers and then with the NBA and the NGC. But now let's look at the fact that it's actually been a long legal week, Barrister Kelechi. Different days with new and young lawyers being called to bar. So I saw that they had over 6,000 lawyers to bar, especially for a young lawyer who is trying to build a legal career in Nigeria. What next for such a person?
Okay, I must congratulate all those people who have, all the young lawyers that have been called to the Nigerian bar. You are all welcome to the bar. In fact, it's an honor belonging to this caliber of men and women. It's the biggest bar in the entire Africa. So it's not by mistake that you have been found worthy in character and in learning. Well, you've gone through rigorous trainings, 6 years to prepare, at least 6 years to be precise, before you become called to the Nigerian bar. So if you're there, you're not there by mistake, you're there because you have qualified yourself. So, but then it does not end in being called. It's just the starting point. It's just like when we were in primary school, we thought when we finished primary 6, life is jamboree. Then we wrote entrance exam to enter just one. And when we finished SS3, we thought we were the senior boys, life has just started. We are there. We made it. Unfortunately, we became year 1 students. And when the life cycle continues, when we finished university, we are writing and tattooing on all our clothes, feeling this, this thing that we are there. Now, the labor market will first of all hit you, and NYC will tell you this is the direction you need to follow. So it is not the end to your process. It's just the beginning.
Oh, being called to bar is just the beginning?
It's just the beginning of your life. Your life can be tailored towards another line from this point. It's just, and this is the most intricate part of people's life, because the choices of what to do and how to do them, this is where it starts. Whether you're going to ruin your life or you're going to veer off, this is where it starts. And trust me, whatever you start now, it will be very hard for you to revert back. It will take a whole lot of time for you to revert back. First, my advice to the young lawyers is to take their time and find a convenient place to practice. Not convenient because it is you just want to practice here. You must find someone who is very talented in practice. As a lawyer, young lawyer, you need to practice for at least a year or 2 before you want to know if you want what you want to do with your life. You have to have a taste of that practice. I encourage all young lawyers to have a taste of practice. Don't just veer off immediately. Join where Of course, at the start, there is no money. Let's be very realistic.
Okay.
There is no money. Not that you will not be making money, but at least it's a learning curve. So you should be able to have that interest in learning. Once you're done learning, with time, you begin to build your own clientele, and then before you know it, you're there. Or if you came into the legal profession simply because you want to be rich, of course you will be rich someday, but it's not within this first year.
Okay.
You're not going to do Yahoo. It is not fraud you're coming to do. It's work that you're coming to do. So if you're expecting to blow within this first year, please have a rethink. It's not coming. You can only have certain things to survive on for this first year. Along the line, your life will pick up according to your pace.
All right. So I guess this is the right time to make them understand that, especially when it comes to election cases, if you don't want to see the bad judges or the bad lawyers that will reel out bad cases or judgments, then this is the right time. We need to let them understand that it is not a money spinner. It is not a Ponzi scheme where you get immediately buy one, get three free kind of money.
Yes.
But then are there, because you talked about the fact that they need to get a good place to serve, a legal practitioner, to get their legal
office.
Practice, or a legal office to get their practice started immediately. But then are there actually structures or mentorship pipeline in place to help these people, to help groom them and form them and shape them to what they should be, especially in this first?
In theory, there is. In practice, there is none.
Oops.
Now, funny enough, it is what you give that you take. Now, if you're willing, nothing is handed on a platter of gold as at this point. You must be willing. You need to ask. You need to want to be mentored.
Okay.
Of course, so many senior lawyers are open to mentorship. So many senior lawyers are very.
When you say senior lawyers, are you really referring to senior advocates?
Aside senior advocates, there are other senior lawyers.
Okay.
Of course, I'm somebody senior.
Okay.
I am, by reasons that I've been here for years, I am also somebody senior. So I have seen things they have not seen. But then, so many senior lawyers, there are people who've been there before you. They've gone through those ropes before you. They've seen things that you've not seen. They've managed situations that you've not been able to, you've not even seen one. So it is feasible that you just look at them and offer you. And trust me, it might not be just one person offering you. Now, you will need, for a starter, you will need a good law firm. Good law firm in the sense that you need a busy law firm, a law firm that has people that want the kind of principles that you want. Because there are firms that will draw away the life out of your own principle. There are firms that will draw you into things that you do not want to do. So it is good that you, at this point, you look for a good law firm, attach yourself, and then kickstart your practice. And also find a senior, one or two seniors that you can always ask questions.
Okay.
You don't stop learning. Even at this stage, I still have people I run to. Sir, how do I navigate through here? They have been there. They've handled situations that I have not been able to handle. So it is wonderful that you, at every point in time, you revert to one person or another.
All right. All right. Let's talk about the bill lawyer. Where exactly from, and is it actually? I was talking to a colleague of mine who's also called to bar. Congratulations to our very own Sheon Temiro. And then when I talked about charge and bill lawyer, he just schooled me and then said, "Oh, that's actually not a good statement to make." But we grew up calling these guys charge and bill lawyer. So where exactly did that term come from? And is it a fair or derogatory term?
Yes, it is derogatory, but it is still in existence. As much as I do not like the word, but sometimes you will get to experience that there is actually, in practice, what is charge and bail.
So there's charge and bail lawyer.
There are charge and bail lawyers, and it exists. But then, like I said, this starting point is a defining moment for everybody. It's a defining moment for young lawyers that are starting. So, however you want to start, whichever firm you want to engage, whichever principle you want to align with, it will take you to either the route of progression or destruction. Now, the term charge and bail is very, very derogatory. I hate to be such term to be used on me. In fact, anybody who uses that terms on me or any lawyer that I will rebuke the person and reprimand the person immediately. I might even take much more bigger legal actions.
Oh, really?
Of course.
So you sue someone who calls you a charge and bail lawyer?
Of course.
Ooh.
It's just like calling somebody a thief.
Oh. So now you know.
Or me calling you a brown envelope journalist.
Okay, no.
You know exactly. This is the same sense.
Okay, I get
now, but that notwithstanding, you cannot take away the very fact that there are brown envelope journalists. No matter how you want to defend your profession.
But don't call me that.
Exactly. I won't call you that, and nobody should be able to call anybody that. Okay, but then there were certain times I went to, when I was very younger in practice, and somebody sent me to area court. That used to be their base in Abuja, where you get to see lawyers dressed in all these coats. You get to see lawyers, and you wonder, are these one lawyers? When I pried more and asked questions, I got to realize that these are lawyers who were called to the Nigerian bar. Like, it sent shock through my spine that I could see lawyers hustling. The moment they bring up an accused person, somebody a defendant in a criminal matter, they will rush and want to inquire if they will represent the person. I was like, what kind of practice is this? So it was then it dawned on me that this is actually the charge and bail. This is actually, and funny enough, they've restricted themselves to that line of practice. And at the point in the early hours of my career, I had one man when I was still looking for where to practice. In fact, God saved me. I ran into one senior who I was then looking for a firm to, pitch my practice. I was very young, just fresh out of law school. And the man said, okay, I will employ you, your salary 50,000. And then, but what you have to do is at every morning you report to the police station. Hey, me? Hey. This is not what I signed up for. The moment I had every morning I have to report to the police, I was like, sir, what? And he said, that's where you will, if they bring anybody, you have to bail the person on behalf of the officer. Sir, me. I've heard about charge and bail lawyer before, but it shall not be my portion.
So it means that young lawyers, they always see this kind of
people are recruited to be in charge and bail at an early stage. And if you are recruited at that point, you might not, if I didn't have the understanding of what it was and what I wanted, I might have, if you offered good money as at that stage where you're still hungry as a young lawyer, some persons might jump on it. And before you know it, it becomes your practice. And before you know it, you are not going to have a career progression. Law, you did not learn. Basic principles of law, you have forgotten the ones you even learned in school. Because you will be dealing with police, and then before you know it, they rope you into the lifestyle of give and take.
All right. So I'll ask you two questions, and I'd like you to take them even as we begin to round off. What reforms do you believe that is urgent that we need in the short term, especially for Nigeria's judiciary today? What reforms are you looking at? And finally, what kind of judiciary do you envision to see Nigeria move into in the next, say, 10 years, if all actually goes well?
Okay. Now, I have three areas I want there to be a reform. First, the judiciary, which is the bench. I would suggest that the NJC and the CJN expedite more action on cautioning and even expelling judges that have been found wanting. That way, it sends a clear message that this is not an all-comers affair.
Okay.
If you're not qualified for this, if you're not ready for this work, please do not come. Now, also, on the second limb of it, to lawyers, I would also want the MBA to take up disciplinary action against lawyers who indulge in tempting the judiciary. And the lawyers who shop from one court to another looking for easier ways.
So that is the lawyers, not the politicians you're talking about.
That's the second limb. And the third limb is Nigerians, both politicians and non-politicians, and businessmen. Please, the court is not a trading zone.
Okay.
Persons who indulge in this thing, when they come after the judges and come after the lawyers, they should also come after the Nigerian who enabled them, who paid for all these things, and who pushed them to do one of these things. So these three reforms, if you do it today, undertake them today, one, the judges will need to sit up. If you begin to sack judges that are erring and appoint judges on the basis of merit, two, lawyers who participate in defiling the court will be cautioned and thrown out of the legal profession. Maybe by the time you go and start your market and then you become a market man or market woman, people no longer call you the bar. You will understand that it is business. And then the third, people who enable these things, who push for these things, and who sponsor these lawyers to go to judges and to go to courts to harass these things and then get justice, get judgments either by hook or by crook, should also be brought to order. So that way we'll have a system that is workable. Everybody should be held accountable.
All right. So in the next 10 years, what kind of judiciary do you envision to see?
In the next 10 years, if all goes well, if we begin our appointment, by the next 10 years, the ones that are here would have gotten old.
They would have done 10 years at least.
The ones that had just been appointed, I'm sure there is nobody that has been appointed that is less than 30 years or 40 years or 35, 40. So if you add 10 years to their age, they're almost nearing their retirement age. So if you begin to appoint correct and refined judges now, and in the next 10 years, you have quality judges assigned to that seat, you will have judges that will redefine the system because one, they understand the law. Two, they are persons of principle. Because for somebody to have shown that dedication in learning and improvement before being brought into the judiciary, that person must have been a I will tell you that I can't do this. You know me when I was practicing. I wasn't a hungry man. My name was everywhere. So you don't expect me to bend to this level. So if you begin to appoint lawyers with prestigious lawyers with understanding and principles, in the next 10 years, you have more lawyers that have principles and you have less ones that are maybe the mistakes we've made that would have been retiring, and some of them even changed and some expelled from that cliff.
All right. So I need you to look at especially the young lawyers who have just been called to bar, the fresh graduates, also even those that are in law school currently, because you talked about that in your time you had 234 lawyers being called to bar.
In my set in the university, I said 234 from my class in the university.
234, but now
went to law school.
So now you have over 6,000 this week. So it means that now it is growing.
It is growing. At the moment, we have over 150,000 lawyers. So you see, and please do not make the mistake and think that it's only when there is cases that you call lawyers. Lawyers are necessary in every single thing. in media houses like this, you have lawyers to guide you so you don't go and infringe on people's intellectual property rights. So you don't go and put up images that people have rights over. And then when they come, they sue you for 10 billion naira. So in marketplaces, in businesses, you have lawyers that should advise you on the kind of trades and when to go about, how to go about your trades and which contracts you should be able to enter. So it's not only when you have a police case that you think of a lawyer. There are lawyers and you have necessity for lawyers in our everyday life.
If you say you have necessity for them in everyday life, are you also referring to the woman who is selling pepper, the suya? Are you also referring to them? Do they need a lawyer?
Of course.
How much are they making? They would,
of course. Now that is the problem. It is not in all cases. There are what things we call pro bono in law.
Okay.
The amount I will charge you will not be the amount I will charge a poor woman selling pepper. It might just be my own social or corporate social responsibility. Let's say I want to do this, I will offer pro bono because she cannot afford it. They don't offer pro bono to someone that cannot offer it, because as you are now, looking at you, you can afford me. You can afford me.
How would you know?
Your institution can afford me. So you don't expect me to charge you the same thing I will charge the woman who will basically need help. Suffering in those areas, bring out their voice without them asking or without them paying any dime.
All right.
Those are your corporate social responsibilities, and as a lawyer should also endeavor to help and assist indigent persons.
So it means all these people that have been called to bar, you should always also have pro bono cases.
Of course, of course. I started pro bono at my first year in practice.
All right. Barrister Kelechi, legal practitioner, thank you so much for your time with us. It's been
thank you so much for having me.
All right, viewers, that's where we end this conversation. It's been a wonderful time talking about the judiciary, and we know that the law may be written in books, but it leads through the people who interpret and who enforce it. As we've heard today, that justice is still work in progress, and that's what Barrister Kelechi has said. But with the right reforms, with the right values, with the right voices, it can yet become the true hope of every Nigerian man. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a wonderful time talking to you and having you watch us from whatever device you're watching us from. Thank you so much. I'll see you again next time. Thank God it's Friday, so I'll see you next week. My name is Annabelle Oji. Thank you for watching again. Good evening, and God bless you and yours. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.